The Last of Us is a post apocalyptic series, with a story set in a world ravaged by a fungal infection where mutated cordyceps turn humans into aggressive, zombie like creatures. Now, both the game and the show, in my opinion, are just straight up fucking amazing. They both have strengths and weaknesses in how they tell the story. While I feel like most games that get a TV series adaptation usually don't do the games enough justice, I will say that I was sincerely impressed with what the show offered. The story was just so captivating, and each and every character was so well developed in the game and in the show that all the interactions will have you stressed out of your fucking mind and on the edge of your seat throughout this entire series. Although I played through the game, watching the TV adaptation still left me on the edge of my seat in anticipation on how they would pull off certain aspects of the game, and we're going to talk about which parts of the game that the show pulled off tremendously well, that in my opinion completely outshine the game, and what made the show really bring justice to the series. So for those of you who aren't familiar, throughout the game you play as a smuggler named Joel, who is tasked with smuggling a young girl named Ellie to a rebel group known as the Fireflies, whose main goal is the creation of a vaccine. So Ellie is the first known human to be immune to this infection. Some key differences are that in the game, Joel is, in my opinion, way more of a hardened character, and it really shows that he's been through the ringer. Just by his overall demeanor and attitude throughout the entire game, you could really see that this man has been through hell. While in the show, he still has that badass vibe, but he just seems like he's got more of a soft spot, and he opens up a lot more quickly in the show compared to the game. Now, at a point in the game, Joel runs into Henry and Sam in an abandoned building shortly after Joel and Ellie escaped an ambush set by some hunters when taking a detour through Pittsburgh. Henry and Sam are other survivors whose group happen to get ambushed by the same hunters. At first, Joel almost beats the living shit out of Henry after they both assume one another were part of the hunters group.
Joel! Joel, stop! Look!
Leave him alone.
Easy, son. Just take it easy.
It's all right. They're not the bad guys. Lower the gun. Man, you hit hard.
Yeah, well, I was trying to kill you.
Yeah, I thought you were one of them too.
After this altercation is settled and all misunderstandings are clear, Ellie suggests that they stick together, to which Henry agrees to, but Joel is a bit reluctant to agree to the idea and finds Henry a bit untrustworthy. This is all thanks to Joel's early on character development. In the show, there are some key differences to their initial meeting. Instead, Ellie and Joel are attacked by a group of rebels in Kansas City and charged by a female named Kathleen. Now, Kathleen is hunting down Henry and Sam because Henry was a collaborator for Fedra, who ratted out her brother for being the resistance leader. Now, Fedra were essentially soldiers that were left behind in the quarantine zone after the government collapsed. They were essentially left in charge of keeping the peace in all quarantine zones, but after loss of communication, most Fedra soldiers decided to abuse their powers, in which Kansas City was known to be the worst one. After Joel and Ellie escape a few of Kathleen's soldiers, Henry and Sam stumble upon them sleeping in a building, to which Henry holds Ellie at gunpoint and talks Joel into not retaliating.
We want to help you.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what the next step is with something like this, but if I lower my gun, we didn't hurt you, so you don't hurt us. Right?
That's right.
It's a weird fucking tone, man.
That's just the way he sounds. He has an asshole voice. Joe, tell him he's okay.
Everything is great.
Dude.
Now, Henry, being the older brother, is overprotective of Sam and tends to come off pretty hard on him, showing how everyone's mentality is mainly about survival, and kids being kids in these times isn't an option. Meanwhile, Sam is obviously just trying to be a kid and seeks approval from his older brother, as shown in parts of the game where he's looking for acknowledgement for some of his actions.
Did you see that?
Let's keep it down, buddy, okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Meanwhile, the show takes an entirely different approach, where Henry is trying his best to let Sam be a kid in this messed up world, and their relationship seems to have a way stronger bond than portrayed in the game. Now, I'm not saying that the game didn't portray that bond, but the show itself really put you in Henry's shoes of wanting to protect a younger sibling by any means necessary, and showed his devotion in doing so by the backstory of being a Fedra collaborator to get medication for Sam, who was suffering from leukemia at the time. Within this short time, Ellie starts looking at Sam as a bit of a younger brother, and seems to try and cheer him up with games or little snarky remarks while traveling. This is the same through the show and the game. In the game, Ellie even at one point sneaks Sam a robot toy that Sam seemed interested in earlier in the game, that Henry gave him a hard time about wanting to take. Now, through the rest of the journey, you really start thinking that this is going to be your main group, even though this entire interaction is only about a day long. Reality slowly starts to set in after you get ambushed again and run into a close call after some infected grab both Sam and Ellie, and you are forced to save them from a distance with a pretty dope fucking sniper shot. While this was a tense moment in the game, man, when I fucking say that the show outshined this section of the game, it's an understatement. After taking out the sniper, Kathleen's group finds Joel's group, and they roll up deep, with a truck plowing through vehicles and just a whole armed militia, which is a little fucking overkill, but hey, whatever. Now after this, Henry reveals himself in an attempt to sacrifice himself to let Ellie and Sam get away. But just before Kathleen attempts to execute Henry, everyone's attention is diverted to a truck that caused an explosion that started opening up a sinkhole in the ground. While I say nothing but straight chaos ensues next, I mean it. While the game did an amazing job at making the infected the most eerie and frightening creatures you'd ever see, the show made that wrath of the infected 100 times more frightening when an entire horde of infected come erupting from the ground at fucking Mach speed, just brutalizing everything in their path. Seeing how the infected acted in a group in the show made me stop and sit in amazement that anyone survived anywhere in the world with how these things were moving and making light work of everything in their path. And I'm the fucking guy that thinks I could survive a zombie apocalypse in real life. But once I watched this scene unfold, I was like, damn, I'm a day one infected. I will not survive the first hour. Not only did they make the adult infected look like a fucking problem, but showing off a child who was infected and turned into a clicker was insanely unsettling. Now, when you think, fuck, this is crazy, and you think the show pulled out all the stops, these fucking guys decided to show off the fucking big guns. And they show off a fucking bloater. If you guys aren't aware, man, a bloater might as well be an infected version of the fucking Hulk. Or at least that's what it looks like when this thing comes out of the ground and starts smashing people and ripping people apart like it's light work. Not only does the game and the show make this infected creature look like the biggest problem, but man, the show really makes you look at it like there is nothing that can stop this thing. Now, after what seems like multiple close calls with the group finally winds down and takes camp in an abandoned motel. Both the game version and the show have this same exact kind of scene, but they pull it off in two completely different ways. Now, both seem to portray Ellie and Sam having a heart-to-heart talk, which seems to be a good bonding experience, where Sam is questioning Ellie on how she isn't afraid of anything, and she shares her fear of being alone, while Sam expresses his fear about turning into an infected. Now, this dialogue really impacts your view of the infected, as Sam asks if Ellie believes that the infected are still self-aware and just have no control of their bodies. This is asked both in the show and in the game.
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body?
Now, within this short time, you really start to see the humane parts of all these characters and the fear that they each carry. Now, that fear that Sam expresses really gives you a unique and eerie perspective of the show as a whole. Now, the game and the show portray this final scene slightly differently. In the game, Ellie leaves the room, and the camera pans to Sam with a bite wound from one of the infected on his leg. And man, it really starts to settle in that all side characters are meant for the main character's development. So you can't ever expect any of them to be around in the long run, as sad as that is. Unless they're the fucking cameraman, because we all know the cameraman never dies. Now, this ending scene is way more impactful in the show, in my opinion. Now, I think this because Sam being younger and deaf really pulls at those emotional heartstrings. But on top of that, the bond that Ellie and Sam build is taken a step further in the show, where Sam reveals his bite and shows Ellie. In which Ellie responds by showing her bite mark and hoping that her blood is that miracle cure that everyone is hoping for. Now, she also tries to give Sam some hope by telling him her blood is medicine, to which Sam afterwards asks Ellie to stay up with him, and she promises. Now, the game and the show both pull off this next scene magnificently, but in my opinion, the show just did it better. What's your opinion?
Ellie. You okay? Easy, easy, easy. Henry, give me the gun. Henry, give me the gun.
What did I do? What did I do? What did I do?
Henry, give me the gun. Give me the gun. Give me the gun, Henry.